Hello, and thanks for joining us on yet another edition of the program Matters. We bring to you current affairs issues, especially those that were captured by the papers, and of course, made news at the start of the week. We're happy that you're present because we're here to give you analysis and share our opinions on some of these big stories that made headlines. We have a panel that is ready to give you a dissection of these issues and more on the program. And of course, you being present with your text messages that you shall be contributing will make this program a success today. On our menu today, we shall be talking about the fight against ghost towns in the Buea municipality, which is real, of course. The Buea Council, together with the Office of the Governor of the Southwest Region, mount a huge crackdown on those who respect ghost towns with concentration on commercial taxi drivers. On Sunday, the 20th of January 2019, the commercial vehicles, especially those who ply the roads around 8 p.m., saw their vehicles impounded and locked at the office of at the premises of the Buea Council. We shall be telling you all about what transpired and do some analysis on that. Plus, the President of the Republic, His Excellency Paul Biya, has reiterated his stance on neutralizing warmongers who are refusing to down their tools and identify themselves with the disarmament committee. He made this new stance, or well, this new old stance during the when he was presiding the 36th graduation ceremony of some cadet officers at that's at the military barracks in Yaoundé. We shall be telling you more on that. And of course, the Social Democratic Front was on the headlines because they have taken new stands with respect to elections. They say they shall be boycotting all elections until such time when those who have been at the helm or those who masterminded Cameroon's hosting rights withdrawn from CAF are being identified and prosecuted. And of course, the other stance is that until solutions regarding the Anglophone crisis are being put on the table, Social Democratic Front shall be boycotting elections. We shall be talking about that as well. Before we introduce the panel for you this day, let us have a press review. Let us have a revisit on what the paper said at the start of this week before we come back and begin our deliberations. Let's have the press review.
Review, we go straight away to look at what they are talking about. Like we told you, the main focus with some of them it is on the CDC issue and the Anglophone crisis that are saying that many people are not going out to work. We begin straight away to look at issues on the media newspaper. What is the media newspaper talking about this day? And of course, it was yesterday's edition of the paper that is in circulation in some news stands in the southwest region, and of course, why not in Yaoundé, talking about the last vestige of South Cameroon's legacy. CDC crumbling to rise no more. The question there be asked by the media newspaper. The Ambassador fighters guilty of patrimonicide, and of course it was during the meeting out there in Limbe organized by the general manager of CDC Franklin. Mr. Franklin was talking about the fact that CDC is in dire need of money to save the structure. Other issues you can find on the paper. They say Bilingualism Commission Mongers keeps Nico Halle in medal award. Nico Halle inconsolable. Page 3 there you can find out that story for yourself. Why they say also inside the paper, Nashtiga Dam project wins World Award for project financing, while Team 2 Council will engage dialogue with Amber Boys to save development. That's according to Mayor Bate Epie. More details there you can find on the story. The media newspaper, like I said, it is in circulation from the media to the post newspaper. The Post says Nigeria court hearing today, and of course that was yesterday. Lawyers revealed hard facts, statute of Sisseku and Co. And of course, remember, Sisseku and Tabe in Cameroon, their case was adjourned to February. And of course, lawyers of the Defense Council talking about the fact that they were opening some petitions out there in Nigeria, talking about the re-extradition of Sisseku from Cameroon out there to Nigeria. Other issues there, they say after meeting Ambazonian leaders, Cameroonian offers to negotiate with government. Page 11 there can find on the paper why the CDC decries sorry state as Anglophone crisis surges on, says even 100 billion cannot save its activities. More details there can find on the Post newspaper. While on the economic page, they say China cancels Cameroon's 3,000 billion francs CFA debt. And of course, more details there. It is on the Post newspaper. From the Post onto the scoop, what is the scoop talking about? It says Biya vows to restore peace in Northwest and Southwest region. Of course, this was during the graduation ceremony of security officers out there in Yaoundé in Emia. More details there. It is on the scoop newspaper. And of course, other issues. It says security threatens a main constraint for CDC. And according to the general manager, why they say Anglophone conference conveners begin broad-based consultation. Of course, they are going to be meeting people in the country and of course out them in the diaspora. Maurice Kamtosus Cameroon at AU court, and of course talking about the issue of the elections in the country, and of course the Anglophone crisis that government has failed to solve. To the Post, to the Voice now. The Voice says road to peace and justice, looking at the various issues in the country. People are sleeping in the bushes, people are clamoring for an end to this Anglophone crisis. More details there. It is on the Voice. They say Mr. President, stop the war, free leaders, and of course the talk, the much awaited talk that everybody is talking about. And they say Abuja court begins hearing as far as the illegal deportation of Ambazonian leaders are concerned. And of course, this other one talks about the fact that Dr. Fontaine Nebai says brain behind ban consortium strategizing for United Saudi Cameroon's diaspora. You can find the details there. It is on the Voice newspaper. We are now with the Guardian. The Guardian says Momo count fruits of happy marriage with BM, celebrate Minister Abang Acharo's reappointment in grand style. More details there. It is on the Guardian Post. It says Custom Director General announces move to weed out fraud within custom. It is page 3 as far as the Guardian Post is concerned. Meantime, Public Works Ministry strategizes to improve road network. It is on page 5, and of course, the Minister unveils roadmap to speed up decentralization. Those are the issue. Then, as far as the Guardian Post is concerned, Italy accuses France of impoverishing Africa. As far as the continent is concerned, these are issues carried on by the paper. I wish you want to read more. Just go to the various newspaper stand, read and understand what the papers are talking about. See you tomorrow.
Well, thank you very much. That was Boris Esono, staff man, giving us the briefs on what the papers carried at the beginning of the week. Of course, quite rich there, and we want to say that equally we had quite interesting stories from the Star, the Sun, Cameroon Tribune, the Rambler newspaper, who all had stories to tell yesterday. Even Indian newspaper was present and gave some very beautiful stories this week. We shall certainly be revisiting them in subsequent editions of the program. But that said, we introduce to you the guests we have today on the panel. We have quite a rich house, and you shall be learning a lot today because we have well-learned gentlemen who are seated here. We have, I think I should begin with the guests before the regular panelists because they're coming with a lot of insight on so much. Let me begin with a senior barrister, Chief Eta Besong, who is a barrister at law and a man who holds high repute in the legal field. He's done a lot. He's a former batonnier, and what have you? He has a lot in his sleeves, in his cap. We're happy to have him here today, especially as we shall be touching a topic that needs so much legal breakdown. Thanks for joining us, Senior Barrister.
The pleasure is mine.
Right, Barrister, we're happy having you here. How excited are you joining us after a very long time?
Well, very excited, I can say that.
Okay.
I am, and I thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Barrister, for coming. Thank you for your honoring our invitation. We are grateful. Equally, we're having Ndifor Richard. Ndifor Richard is a regular panelist to the program, and of course, he's joining us here once again to break down some of these very important topics we shall be talking on, especially that of the Social Democratic Front, because he's read through the communiques that we sent, and of course he shall be articulating all of that for us in today's edition of the program. Thanks for joining us, Mr. Ndifor.
Thank you so much. Glad to be on the program again after a long while.
Yeah, certainly. The last time we saw you was in November.
Absolutely.
That was something like November 22nd. Just after the bishop, the Anglophone crisis conveners postponed their meeting. Thanks for coming back.
Thank you so much.
Of course, we are always happy having you because you have a rich insight on the subject matters we treat on matters. All right, we have our regular panelists seated very well on our panel today. We have Mr. Sama Abang Mugwa, who is a social commentator. Thanks for coming, sir.
It's my pleasure.
Right.
It's an honor for me to sit on the same panel with senior advocate of the Supreme Court of Cameroon and elsewhere. It's a rare privilege, and I'm honored. Thank you.
Thank you indeed. And all of us, it's our privilege to have senior barrister, Chief Besong in our midst. We also have Mr. Busi Ernest. Mr. Busi Ernest is a senior instructor, a psychology instructor, I want to say, at the University of Buea. Thanks for coming, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. I'm very humbled to be here on panel to deliberate on crucial issues with our humble barrister. I'm privileged to see him because when I first saw him, I saw a lot of humility, and I see humility. With humility, we are going to deliberate a lot of issues that can help us shape the life of our country.
Also, thank you very much, Mr. Busi, for such kind words on behalf of the barrister. Also on the panel, we have Mr. Kedia Roberts. He shall be joining us shortly. He's a political scientist. He's, of course, on the touchline. He'll be joining us anytime soon. All right, the panel you know, and the host you know. Just to inform you that our regular broadcasting team are behind the cameras. We have Ngwan Kindness Jogu, who is manning the machines at the broadcasting room. And as well, we have JC Agum, who is behind the cameras. Thank them quite a lot for bringing us this special edition of the program Matters. Let us begin the program this day. We are going to start with the fight against Goldstone, which is of course becoming very real and glaring in the Buea municipality. The mayor of the Buea Council has reiterated that January 31st shall be the last day Buea shall know and witness the infamous ghost towns. He made these remarks shortly after having a tete-a-tete discussion with taxi drivers at the council premises of Buea. The mayor, who indicated that taxi drivers over time have been complaining of insecurity being the reasons why they don't ply the streets, said the government has provided quite enough security to guard commercial or economic operators, business premises, and commercial taxis. Hence, every business place has to open on Mondays, as the case may be. Of course, things shifted quite a little on Sunday, the 20th of January 2019, when commercial taxi drivers had their vehicles impounded by security operatives And of course, these vehicles were locked at the premises of the Buea Council on Monday, the 21st of January 2019. These taxi drivers besieged the premises of Buea Council, where they demanded their taxis be released immediately. Of course, the mayor had a discussion with them where he told them that it is going to be a must for them to work on Mondays, or they have their vehicles impounded forever at the council premises. Along the discussion line, it came to a resolve that taxis will work on Mondays. That is, if security will be guaranteed and the passengers will be there to enter these vehicles. Well, certainly the mayor did inform them that they shall have these vehicles well filled with passengers when they begin noticing that the vehicles are plying on Mondays. And of course, as for security, he indicated that government has provided super enough security for them to work on Mondays. But it didn't end there, because later in the day, the mayor went down from Bonduma, where we are broadcasting, right up to Great Support, locking down shops and business premises that did not open their doors as early as 8 a.m. that Monday. Well, it continued right up to this Tuesday, where business premises from the Total filling station in Moliko right up till the checkpoint vicinity were all sealed, with the council authorities in collaboration with the forces of law and order ensuring that that municipal decision was being enforced. Now, on today's edition of the program, we are going to discuss how feasible this is going to be, given the huge resistance that have been put in the past by the population, and of course the threats that have been in the air from the separatist fighters. We're also going to look at the legal point of view, whether or not it is within the ambit of the law to seal shops simply because they did not open on Mondays. That is regarded as a security threatened day, otherwise known as a ghost town day. Well, we have our senior learned luminary present here to break down that for us, as well as we have very rich minds who are going to discuss all of this for us. We shall be getting this report from the news file of today, this report about the locking of shops that took place on Monday, and partly of today we are pleading with the broadcasting senior technician to make that report available for us, so we kickstart this discussion with that kicker that of course will give us a very good entry point. Of course, it's found in the broadcasting file, the news file of today, the 22nd of January 2019. That report is done for us by Boris Esono, and he captures the activities as it happened yesterday. That was this Monday at the Buea Council, and of course partly today, where the municipal council authorities locked down shops. Almost all the business premises from the Total filling station in Moliko right up to checkpoint have been locked up. That from Buntumaye up to Great Support were locked up yesterday. And of course, the information we got is that these shops will only be open next Monday. That is certainly a ghost town day. And should they not be open, then they will have additional punishment that is coming from the Buea Council. Let's have that report.
The fight against ghost town in the Buea municipality took a drastic twist this Monday, January 21, 2019. Close to 200 taxis seized from the drivers the previous night by security forces on high instruction from the governor were seen parked at the premise of the Buea Council. As early as 7 a.m. this morning, the taxi owners besieged the council premises, demanding to regain access to their vehicles. The mayor of the Buea Council, present at the scene, requested the drivers fly the street this and every Mondays as a strategic means to end ghost town.
So our answers, we had made a statement on the 4th of January. On Friday when we had a general meeting with all the unions of taxi drivers in the city. We had a target of 31st of January to beat down the issue of Goldstone in the municipality, and our fervent prayer is that other municipalities should emulate. At the end of it all, it will accumulate to the Goldstone being trashed out in the two regions.
He indicated security in the municipality has been beefed, hence no cause for concern, why the drivers will not continue working on Mondays.
Together and park their taxis here. They can, from the council, go on the street while the state or the administration assures them of security. The reason why you see the taxis are parked here.
As a means to cajole the drivers, the Buea Council offered 5 liters of fuel to each driver, requesting that they also use the council premises as their park if security around where they live is questioned.
And by evening, because of the fear of the unknown, we've given them the latitude to park their taxis at the council where they are secure. So we are sure that we are moving on a positive trend.
Though appreciating the mayor for the honorable gesture taken, some of the drivers, speaking off camera, said it may be a gradual rather than an automatic process for them to return to the streets on Goldstone days. Meanwhile, some commercial vehicles as well as business premises were visible present at their respective ends, trying to make ends meet, though it is unclear if those to consume the products were present. The Buea Council officials, manned by the mayor, went around different parts of the municipality in the later days of Monday, closing down businesses respecting the famous Goldstone. It should be noted that the mayor recently took a firm commitment to eliminate Goldstone by January 31, 2019. One more Monday to go. The council has multiplied its measures to see how to beat out this Goldstone phenomenon from the municipality. Whether or not council meets its objective is a matter of days ahead. However, one thing is sure, the Goldstone phenomenon is now facing a counterattack from the Buea Council and by extension from the people of Buea.
All right, certainly that was what transpired on Monday the 21st of January 2019. And this Tuesday, the 22nd, where business premises were locked up, and of course, with threats that they could even be locked up further if they respect Goldstone on Monday. Well, you could see from the images that the locking up was, or the sealing, I want to see, was accompanied with breaking down of makeshift structures that are attached to the permanent structures. So, for those who opened their shops, even though they had makeshift structures, they were permitted. But those whose shops were locked, their punishment was extended to breaking down of all their makeshift structures that were found around their concrete or their permanent premises. So that was what transpired yesterday. Gentlemen, let's have this discussion. Let me begin with you, Senior Barrister Chief Etab Besong. Give us a general impression. When you say things like this, certainly Goldstone has had untold effect on the economy, not only of the southwest of Buea municipality, but the entire southwest and northwest region. It is becoming unbearable, and of course, measures are supposed to be taken. Some people say draconian measures. Measures are supposed to be taken. But when you see these measures that have been taken, what are your impressions?
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. My impressions are not good. You have come and you've termed them draconian measures. You see, draconian measures have never solved problems anywhere in the world. Draconian measures create resistance. And I think that the first thing we have to find out is whether what is being done is in accordance with the law or it is in violation of the law. So, and I stand and I believe that what is going on now is in total violation of the law. And so when people's rights enshrined in the Constitution, because the Constitution says every person has inalienable and sacred rights. If these rights are violated, swept under the carpet, you don't expect the people to say amen. So I think what is going on is illegal. I must say it, call it by its name. It is illegal, it is untenable, and it is bad.
Right. Mr. Ndifor, at a time when the various councils cannot even meet their revenue collection, and in fact, Buea being an example, almost all their revenue collection points have been closed down because of the insecurity nature. But this is further compounded by this ghost town that is crippling the economy of the municipality across all the other parts of the northwest and southwest region. I think that tough times, or what you say, desperate times, require desperate measures. And these are some of the measures that the Buea Council has taken to kick against these desperate times. Don't you share that?
Absolutely not. You know, taken from where the barrister ended, I'll start by saying that you stated it very clearly that the ghost town has had untold pain on the population of the Buea municipality and the population of the entire northwest and southwest region. And in fact, many people are not very happy with the situation of the ghost town. And being the mayor of Buea, I can understand his frustration in trying to ensure that the situation is brought under control. But definitely, the measures he's taken is not what he should employ. I think there are better measures because in times like this, in times of crisis, that is when we expect to see leadership. And we expect the mayor to have shown that leadership. But unfortunately, what he's showing is not leadership, it is authority. He's trying to show authority and not leadership. And like Barrister said here, in situations like this, it doesn't warrant you to come in with authority. And by the way, when I look at the situation of this ghost town, I want to go back to find out how we got to this point. And to say that initially, when this guy started this ghost town issue, I mean the separatists, it wasn't very, very effective. People could still get out of their houses and move around town and try. Some few people were able to open their shops. But surprisingly, the military actually enforced the ghost town. Because if you see, it got the way it got because people were shot and killed at Bakweri town. People were shot and killed around Street 2 Junction and then Buea town. All this event took place on Ghost Town Day, and that went around like a message to anybody who dared to come out on Ghost Town Day. And to me, it sounded very, or it looked very funny that the very authority that are telling the population not to respect Ghost Town are the same people going out to enforce the Ghost Town. And so, just to say that our leaders, I hate to call them authorities, because when we keep calling them authority, they fail to show leadership. They keep showing authority and not leadership. We expect them in times like this, in moments like this, when all of us are praying and hoping that the situation is brought under control, because I don't think anybody living in this municipality loves to find himself in this situation of ghost town. But we expected our leader, the people we voted into those offices, especially in the office of mayor, should show some leadership. And I don't think trying to punish the people who are themselves victims of the ghost town is the right move to make. And so I think we should use this forum to try to talk some sense into the mayor to realize that what he's doing, he is actually inflicting more pains to the same people who have been suffering, who are victims of the same ghost town. And so other measures should be shown, because when things like this happen, it only leaves some of us to conclude that we have people who do not have the ability to lead. People who think that they can only use intimidation and force and authority to be able to implement things. So I hope that our leaders will be able to show leadership.
Right. I just want to say you made so many sweeping statements there that we want to take quite exception to all of what you said there, especially questioning the leadership authority of the municipal authority. So,
Well, Mr.
yes,
Moderator,
we
without,
take exceptions to that.
Yeah, Mr. Moderator,
take exception.
I think you have a right to take exception because you are a media house.
Yes.
But let the truth be said. And I would like to start by quoting what the Constitution of this country says.
Okay.
The Constitution in the preamble, the Constitution says no person may be compelled, and I underline the word compelled, to do what the law does not prescribe. That is, what is not stated in law should not be exercised, or nobody should be compelled to do what is not prescribed by law. The very Constitution again says no person may be punished except by virtue of a law enacted and published. The very Constitution again says that no person shall be harassed on grounds of his beliefs. So if a man believes that he is a business operator and believes that it is not in his interest to open his shop on Monday, that is his belief, and you can't punish him, otherwise you'll be going contrary to the Constitution. And let us be careful about it. If you look at section 65 of the Constitution of this country, it says that the preamble of the Constitution is an integral part and parcel of the Constitution. So let those, and my good friend Mr. Ndifor has said it, that is what leadership is. Leadership is abiding by the laws and regulations of a country. Now, you started the program by saying it was a municipal decision. I want to make a clarification here. There is a distinction between what the mayor of a town says and what the municipality says. The mayor is not the municipality. He might be the head of the executive, but he is not the municipality. And the law prescribes that municipal decisions are taken during council sessions. And apart from that, at the end of those decisions in council session, they must be forwarded to the supervisory authority for a visa. The question I ask is there any such decision as of now that is being implemented, and whether that decision is constitutional or not? That is the bottom line.
Right. Mr. Summer, just cue in from there. I want to find out, now that these shops have been closed, more ghost town are being added to the already difficult ghost town day. I mean, for this shop, is it helping the economy? I mean, another 1 week added to the already crippling ghost town day, is it helping the economy?
Permit me say that basically ghost towns is an evil. It's an evil that has dragged the Northwest and the Southwest at a larger scale into deep mud. And I doubt if there is any ordinary citizen or resident of these two regions that would honestly encourage ghost towns. And I would cue in there by looking at the mayor's actions from that point of view. I would differ slightly with the two previous speakers, and that an action may be legally wrong, an action may be administratively wrong, but it's politically right. And that is where the mayor now comes in. His actions, his draconian actions, his draconian illegal actions may be motivated by a stronger political urge. And so, that's what I hear my francophones say, politiquement correct, even if it is wrong at law. And that is where he finds himself. Should I toe the line of the law and see my municipality? We should bear in mind that a Kema Patrick, or the mayor of this area, is a bona fide son of the area by ancestry. And so he looks at it from that angle, putting every other thing aside. And I would do that which is politically right, and even if it is legally wrong, and let the law Now, punish me. Unfortunately, we know the length of the arm of the law in this country. It has a longer arm when it deals with others, but a shorter arm when it deals with its own people. And so he knows very well that the arm of the law would not be as long as to catch me in this case. And so he does it with political cover and administrative cover, especially given that we are so unfortunate that we are in a country that is characterized by the menace of impunity and selective application of the law. Now, it's quite unfair. It is quite unfair because I've been able to go through law number 18, law number 2004/18 of the 22nd of July 2004, which spells out the powers, the duties, and the rights of councils. It has to do with the larger body of the laws that touch on decentralization, but that one deals with the councils, and so it spells out the powers of the municipal administrator and the municipal executive. And nowhere in that law is the mayor empowered to get right up to that extent and do the things that we have seen him do. Remember that this is not the first time. He did that some months back, and the traders and economic operators stayed their grounds and stayed, and that we are not coming to beg you. Do what you want to do. And thanks to his magnanimity, I should say, in quotes, he came back, well, that's why I put it in quotes, sir.
I challenged that action.
That is why
I wrote to the authorities, and that's what made him make a U-turn. It wasn't magnanimity. He called it whatever, but it was because I challenged action when he even had the audacity to seal the doors of my chambers, which of course I break. Because every illegal act, self-defense is a defense. Once a man is going wrong, once there is illegality, you don't wait for the court. You have a right to resist illegality and call sin by its name, even if the heavens fall.
Thank you, Barrister at Law. And so, it is obvious that because he termed it is thanks to his magnanimity, and that he was able to pardon the traders and the economic operators and ask them to reopen. They reopened, but have ghost towns stopped? No. I said here before sometimes back that the mayor is waging a war against the victims of a bigger war. Economic operators in Buea, ordinary civilians in this town, are not the propagators of ghost town, for heaven's sake. And so we are simply caught in a fight between an extreme, faceless enemy of the state and state administrators who use their power and do the things that they do. But unfortunately, let me see, because the cry of the ordinary man is not that we are in support of ghost towns, but that we are not sure of our security. Business premises have been burnt, taxi cabs have been burnt, civilians have been maimed, some have been killed for not respecting ghost towns by these faceless enemies of the state, as I always refer to them. But have we really seen the state come to their rescue? Have we seen the state come to the rescue of their families? Have we seen the state extend its humanitarian hand to those victims? Not at all. And so it becomes difficult for you again to convince the ordinary economic operator who finds himself at the mercy of perpetrators of ghost town, and who thinks that I am not convinced by the security palliative of the state, and so let me lock and then stay me at home, rather than expose myself, my family, and my business to some action that would render me poor for the rest of my life. Unfortunately, again, as I said, the mayor has, in his administrative drive and in his political action, whether blind or visible, is punishing an already impoverished and heavily overpunished victims. It is, I don't know whether he will be able to come back to himself and rethink it. We have complained about his ban on motorbike
riders. Yeah.
We have complained, and I think it's a difficult situation, especially given that the people on the ground are not convinced by the security narrative that is used to cajole them. Let us wait and see whether by next week. I know he's also driven by that ego to see that by the 31st he's able to like say that I said it and I succeeded and I achieved it. But it's on my part, it's an exercise. It's again another exercise in futility. Okay. I'm sorry.
Right. Now, Mr. Busi, I find out from you. Are these measures going to lead to the end of ghost towns? Because one would term draconian, given the fact that now they don't only come with threats, but they come with actions, and very heavy actions on the people. Taxi drivers are being impounded, or rather the commercial taxis are being impounded, business premises are being closed down, makeshift structures are being destroyed, and all of this. Where do we see this ghost town phenomenon in the next couple of days, if not weeks? Are we going to see it completely eliminated from Buea?
I'm not seeing that completed. Mr. Moderator, I must tell you that we are dodging away from the root cause of the crisis. And the ghost town phenomenon is part of the root causes of the crisis, because the people are feeling that those are measures they can take to put the government into tax. And I want to tell you, Mr. Moderator, as a psychologist, I will not go into law. The first thing I want to say is that, first of all, the psychology of the people, the psychic of the people, first of all, they have that fear. And the ghost town now affects mostly the common people. And the common man out there they are the economic operators. They are the business people. They are the taxi drivers, you are saying. And these people are civilians. And you are threatening their civilian liberties. And I want to tell you one thing, Mr. Moderator. First of all, these people, if you want economic rebuilding by the mayor cannot take place at this point in time when the economy is in sham. The economy is already in sham, and we have been crying here that until the Anglophone crisis is put into tax, where there is dialogue, where people deliberate before we think that the issue of ghost town phenomenon can stop. For now, I think that the draconian measures taken by the government, by the mayor, is punitive. And punitive and severe and excessive and harsh measures cannot solve the ghost town phenomenon. The ghost town phenomenon can be solved only when the Anglophone crisis must have been solved. Let me come out of Buea. After World War II, there was a great suffering in Europe, and there was a great suffering in America. The measures America took was not a draconian measure. American took diplomatic measures, and it's only through diplomatic measures that you can solve a problem of such magnitude. And American used what they call the Marshall Act. And the Marshall Act is a method where American could also dialogue with other people, could use diplomacy. So I'm saying here that the mayor of Buea should learn how to use diplomacy to solve critical issues like this, because we should not be looking only on economic operators. What about the social aspect of it? What about education and school? On Mondays, most schools are not operational. The mayor should not look at only the economic operators. On Mondays, most schools are not operational because the young child, the young primary school child, the young secondary school child have the fear. These people are looking for self-defense because they think that the Anglophone crisis has been very devastating and they have economic loss. Let me land, Mr. Moderator.
I'm not cutting you. I'm still with you. Are you saying that the people are willingly downing their tools in respect of ghost towns as their will, or they are running away from the adverse effects that may come out for them disrespecting ghost towns?
Okay, the people, first of all, some of them are looking for measures like
Let's talk with the
self-defense.
majority. Let's talk with the majority.
For example,
Are
the majority for now, I
respecting
think
those
that
willingly?
to a greater extent, the common man, first of all, is tired. And they think that avoiding goes down is a self-defense for them. Because, first of all, like me particularly, on a Monday, I already have that fear. My psychic has the fear, my cognition has the fear. So, it will be very difficult to remove that fear in a common man's mind. And even if the business people open, who are those who are going to buy? It's still the common man. Are you sure majority of the common people will have the guts to go out there psychologically? Because we should be looking at the psychological stressors. These people are already depressed.
So how can they solve the psychological stressors, as you call it?
The adjustment.
How do we solve it?
Okay, the psychological adjustment and adaptation can be solved only when the Anglophone crisis has been solved through dialogue, through mediation and everything.
There was Anglophone crisis before July 2, 2018, when this Goldstone phenomenon took another phase.
It was
it
was some of the measures that were taken by the non-state actors. And I think that even on social media, when the non-state actor says that this goes down today, the people respect it. So we should be very honest here, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Busi,
yes, sir.
Yes.
What you've been trying to say has legal appellation.
Thank you.
We call it irresistible physical compulsion.
Thank you.
You have seen people whose backs have been wounded by whips, machete cuts, and all of that. There is irresistible physical compulsion. And what does the law say about irresistible physical compulsion? The law says anybody who has irresistible physical compulsion and acts in consequence of that has no criminal responsibility. That is the law. If you look at the Penal Code, Book 1, you would see it there. Once there is irresistible physical compulsion, there is no liability. So, Section 77, and this is where I want Mr. Moderator, I want to come up here and say, it is unfortunate that in Cameroon, you have municipal councils, city council, all what you call them, who do not have legal retainers. Every council should have a legal retainer. And before the council or the mayor steps out to do what my very good friend, Mr. Sama, called political correctness. Political correctness does not expunge criminal liability. What the mayor is doing is both criminally liable and civilly liable because he's acting in contravention of the law. So whether it is politically correct is irrelevant. Let me give you an example. Very many of the CPDM barons in this country use government money to sponsor things in favor of the CPDM. That was politically correct for them, but they are now behind bars because it was legally wrong. This Cameroon prides itself with being a country that respects law. You cannot say you respect law and then you start saying, well, I am legally wrong, but I'm politically correct. In the world, in the concert of nations, that is something Cameroon cannot stand up and talk about.
If you allow me to just for
okay, Mr. Richard,
yes, excuse me, Richard, please. I understand very well the spirit of the barrister, and I wouldn't have expected him to support my assertion.
No, I support the law, not you.
Okay,
I'm
fine,
not
fine.
challenging
fine.
you.
All right,
I am
okay,
stating
good.
the law.
But again, I still stand on that. There is no way, with a little spirit of law that animates me, that would think
everybody.
Yeah, that would think that the mayor was right by law. I cited to you law number 2004/18.
Yes,
He is out of the law. He is acting ultra virus and completely.
I like that.
But again, we are dealing in a country where the law is applied to some people as a deodorant, while to some other people it is applied as a weed killer. And so, we come to a situation where, do you really think with the fervent fight that this gentleman is waging, would the system allow any court action against him?
Oh yes. Let me say that. No,
that's where I have a word.
Let me
And
answer.
again, and again,
Let
and
me
again.
answer.
And again.
A court action does not come from the blues. There must be a complainant. If the mayor is doing what he's doing, which you have qualified as legally wrong, and it is legally wrong. If the mayor is doing that, and a victim of his illegal wrong complains, they cannot close that case file. Because let me tell you, you have a right to exhaust domestic remedies. That is to say, if the legal department closes the file, you can ask for why that case has not gone to court. And they tell you that the case has not gone to court because the president of the republic or the governor has asked that the case should not go to court. Let me tell you, after you have exhausted local remedies, you can take them to the African Court on Human and People's Rights.
At what
You can.
cost? At what cost?
No, look, let me tell you, people don't know that that is what Mukom did. That is what Albert Mukom did. And the Cameroonian government was found liable and paid Mukom. So let us not shy. Look, sometimes you spend money because you want to correct a wrong. Because if you let the wrong continue, other people's rights would be trampled upon, and those who want to use authority, like my brother said, who think that authority is all that matters, would continue in their impunity.
Let me
We
come to
must
you,
stop
Barrister.
it.
Yes. Okay, Mr. Ndifor, yes, go ahead.
Yes, you see, I have been very quiet, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
You said something that was very intriguing when you said you want to disassociate yourself with the fact that I challenged the leadership. I found it very, very, very laughable, because you see, a person like the mayor is an elected official.
Yes.
And we are living in a democracy, and in that democracy where we're living, he's answerable to me. In fact, I employ him by my vote.
That's right.
I put him there by my vote. That is what we don't know. We live in a democracy. He is answerable to me. As the electorate, as a resident of this municipality, I voted him because I gave him a mandate, and he's answerable to that mandate.
You're right.
And therefore, if he's failing in the mandate, I have every right in a democracy to question how he is carrying on his mandate. So I just want us to be at that level. And then coming back, I've heard a lot of psychological and legal and all of that. And I don't know a lot of law. But look, listen, we are talking about somebody, we gave him a mandate to run a municipality, and this is that municipality where I am a resident of that municipality. And I am a victim of some group of individuals who have come and threatened me and asked that I lock up my shop, and for fear
Exactly.
that they can harm me, I lock up my shop. And then the person that I put up there as the leader of that municipality, I look up to you to come to my rescue. And you rather come back to me.
Mr. Ndifor, let me help you there. Section 81 of our penal code gives you protection. It says that
Absolutely.
under that threat, under that fear, whatever you do is not criminally responsible.
Absolutely. And I, who is a victim of a group of people who have held me hostage, I look up to the leaders of my municipality. I look up to the state officials, the governor, the DOs, to come to my rescue. And what did they do? They come after me. That is exactly what is going on. They come after me. The same people I'm looking at them to protect me, they are coming after me. I think that there is a lot of issues that is problematic here. I would have expected. The other day I heard the mayor saying that Cardinal Tumi should carry his whatever conference away from here. And Cardinal Tumi was trying to solve this problem in what I would call in a sustainable manner. Because what he is doing is a superficial solution to the problem.
Unsustainable.
Unsustainable. What he's doing is not going to last any long. It's not going to last. And he would have inflicted pains on the same people who put him there to protect them, and they are in a problem, and instead of coming to protect them, he's coming to inflict pains on them. So what I'm saying here is that the mayor should use his leadership skill, if he has it, to find problems or find solution to this problem. We are not endorsing Ghost Town. Absolutely not. We are not doing that.
That is why I come back to you
Yes.
shortly before I come to Mr. Busi. What are some of your prescribed measures to stop Ghost Town? Because you and I are on this platform saying that Ghost Town is bad and it's crippling the economy. And that is not only about the economy, but the state of affairs of Buea, like other parts of the Northwest and Southwest region, has been handicapped with the advent of ghost towns. I mean, even with the infiltration of ghost towns. Now, we're getting towards the era where we're going to be celebrating national days. On the 11th of February is going to be a National Youth Day. That falls on a Monday. I mean, if you were the governor of the Southwest region, if you were the mayor of Buea, how would you contain this? I mean, should people sit in their houses?
The first solution to a problem is diagnosing the problem.
Very true.
When you start by diagnosing the problem, you find a solution to that problem. Okay. Now, when you leave the problem and you have malaria, instead of treating malaria, you're treating the symptoms. Because what they are doing, they're treating the symptoms. They're not treating malaria. They should go after malaria, treat malaria. The problem here is not those victims whose shops have been locked up. It's not those victims whose taxes have been impounded. The victims, the problem here is with the perpetrator of the ghost town. Go after the perpetrator of the ghost town and not after the victims. If you think that the people who are putting this ghost town are out there, go after them. And one way of going after them is to go after the problem that started the ghost town in the first place.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, no.
Mr. Moderator, you asked a very intriguing question. It's intriguing. What is our proposal? Those of us here in this panel, what is our proposal to stop ghost town?
Yes.
I don't think that is where we should go first of all. We should find out, is closure of establishments, impounding vehicles, taxis, is that first of all a solution? Before we say, oh, that one is good and we can add to this. No, it is not correct. And I would ask the mayor, I guess the mayor is listening because he always listens to this, because the last time I was on air on this closure, he called me. He is listening now. And I would ask him to go and read section 19 sub C of the penal code, section 19 sub A rather, of the penal code, which talks about closure of establishment. That is an accessory penalty. And section 19 sub A says that that measure, it's a measure, cannot be taken except by a decision of a court, and it is only enforceable after a court decision. The mayor has no court decision. The mayor, as my learned friend said, is acting ultra-violence, that is outside the law, and therefore, I think that some reasoning should come to the mayor. I guess the mayor has, as some of his councillors, some learned colleagues of mine, who should tell the mayor that enough is enough, and that he can't continue in this wild goose chase that would never lead him to legality.
Right, Mr. Busi?
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. I would think that in FACO we have so many mayors too. And I want to tell you that looking at the multiplier effect of this ghost town, also look at our neighboring Moloka, Ekona, Antico. Let's be frank. We are talking on economic recovery here, and that's what the mayor wants, because they need taxes. They need taxes. They need revenues to build the local development.
To run the municipality.
To run the municipality too. And I want to say that, go to Muyoka, you will see the bananas that are getting bad, the cash crops that are getting bad. Even Buea is stable today. Where will some of these cash crops enter Buea so that the people can consume? the local consumers can consume. So we should not only look at it at a macro level.
So do you want the mayor to go and administer
this
affairs in Moyuka?
It's his municipality, but I think that the Anglophone problem is more than the Buea municipality. Let's be frank about this. Until the day we solve the Anglophone crisis and look beyond the crisis, because the first thing in conflict resolution is to identify the crisis. So, and I think that the government knows that there's a root cause. And
Mr. Busi, you're talking about the root cause and there are remote causes. Of course, the Goldstone being one of the remote causes. Are there no cosmetic solutions that
solutions are not sustainable?
Yeah, of course we know they are not sustainable, but we are faced with time. We are faced with bigger events that are coming up, and of course, I think that the mayor, together with administrators of the Southwest, are looking at some of these events that are coming up. Are there no cosmetic solutions?
Mr. Moderator, do you think that on 11th of February, the governor of this region, the deal of this subdivision, the mayor can come to my house and ask my child to go out and march in the street? Do they have a right to do that? So let them not think that.
Would you keep your child in the house when we have vehicles working at maximum security?
Yes.
Will you keep your child when you enjoyed National Day and you're preventing your child from enjoying the National Day as well?
I enjoyed it not from coercion. I didn't enjoy it from coercion. Well, let me tell you, if they want to use coercion, it will be more catastrophic. I've told you that the law says where there is irresistible physical compulsion, the parents are afraid of the welfare of their children. You tell me the mayor has said there will be military people and policemen to guard.
Of course, there were military.
How many of them are there compared to the population of Buea? If they assign one policeman to guard you, one policeman to guard all of us.
When insecurity comes, they will turn shooting the child. They're the same people.
Have they guarded anybody? Have they guarded anybody? Have they guarded? Otherwise, the people who have been beaten and maimed and their hands cut in the plantations, where were the police? Where were the gendarmes? Absolutely. Where were the soldiers? Absolutely. Where were the beasts? Where were they? Good question. And you think that a father would allow his child to go out and be maimed or be dead because he wants to celebrate a so-called National Day?
Right.
Not at all.
We're talking about the bigger solution, and the President of the Republic has already articulated the solution to the crisis.
I regret to say he hasn't.
Of course, I mean, you have your own point of opinion, but the President of the Republic holds the biggest office of the nation, and he has said,
doesn't make it more Cameroonian than Besong.
Barrister, we're going to come to you to argue more on this, because President Biya has prescribed dropping of arms and identifying yourself with the disarmament committee, or you'll be neutralized. We'll talk about that very shortly, but Mr. Sama, round up your point.
Yes,
briefly.
I see the actions of the local administration of Buea as an action spurred by desperation. Desperation, just as you said, the fear of having another Waterloo of 11 February as we have had in the past years from 2016. We can't compare the effervescence of any national event in the Southwest and in the Northwest as it used to be pre-2016. And so I see the actions of the mayor and the local administrators geared towards that, towards salvaging the little that...
feathering their nest.
Well,
they are feathering their own nest.
Yeah,
they are not salvaging anything. They want to feather their nest. That's the truth.
Yeah. Trying to see how they can salvage or I mean, what is still redeemable. But again, it takes these faceless amber boys just one act in and around Buea to send everybody back into his house. I mean, it just takes one act, and the moment a taxi driver goes out and hears that a taxi has been born around my 18, everybody parks. And so it is, I think as a prescription, again, as I often said, unfortunately, we have administrators or we have leaders who have ears but they can't listen, or they don't listen, or they have waxed
Yeah, yes. Or they think that they alone have the panacea to the problem, and which has failed us repeatedly, consistently.
Right.
I pray that the mayor, for whom I have so much esteem, this time has some magic tool in his box to surprise us with.
All right. Right. Now, let's go now to the next topic of discussion, because the President of the Republic has reiterated that the Anglophone crisis would be solved if warmongers drop their weapons and identify themselves with the disarmament committee. According to the President of the Republic, the fighting against the defense forces will not take the war against the separatist fighters anywhere. He was speaking during the precision of the 36th graduation ceremony of the students, that's the cadet officers at the Military Academy Emir, where he also disclosed that the Disarmament, Demobilization and Reintegration Committee is ready to receive them and of course make them better citizens of Cameroon. The president indicated that the results already gotten from the Fayengu Commission are very, very positive, showing that more and more separatist fighters are downing their tools and are joining the disarmament committee. Now, dear panelists, without belaboring this point so much, I'll begin with you. Okay, yeah, let me begin with you, Mr. Richard, because it's a very interesting point. Do you buy with the president that things are getting back in shape and more fighters are dropping their weapons?
I wish the president was down here, seeing the situation and facing the situation, the reality on the ground. You see this issue of asking the fighters to down their weapons and surrender. It's a good idea. The only thing is that they are putting the cart before the horse. If you want these guys to down their weapons, address the issue. Address the issue. Have a dialogue, which is what every other person has recommended. Every other person, all the international partners who have come in here, that is their recommendation. All the high commissions in Cameroon, that is their recommendations. All the civil society organizations in Cameroon and political parties have given that same recommendation, and even churches have given that same recommendation. I don't see why the regime and the government thinks that it is their way, the only way. I don't see why they keep insisting on their own way. I think that, and even the regime sometimes preach dialogue, they pay lip service to dialogue, but they don't put it into practice. I think if they really want these rebels, sorry to use that term, if they want the separatists to down their weapons, what they should be doing is initiate dialogue, have an all-inclusive dialogue. You sit on the round table, we address the issue, and then we do what we call a truth and reconciliation. Exactly. The government admits that, okay, I've gone wrong here. And I think that at this point, I am going to see how I'm going to correct my mistakes. And the separatists too, they agree that, yes, of course, even the government went wrong here, we did wrong by taking up arms in the first place. And we are sorry about that, and we are going to drop our weapons. After that is done and settled, we now get to that stage where we talk about downing weapons and coming for reconstruction. But you haven't initiated dialogue yet, you haven't talked to the people, you haven't addressed the issue is still there, and then you just say people should down their weapons. And even if these guys should down their weapons and come up, and even if that will solve the problem at the meantime, it's not going to be long before we will be back to this very spot where we are today.
Right, now we are talking about dialogue here, dialogue there, dialogue there. We know that this war has so many faces. Yeah. We have a hydra, several tentacles with the separatist fighters.
Yeah.
Who do you think, if dialogue is called today, the separatist, rather the government can really talk with?
You see, Cameroon is not an island in the community of the world. Dialogue has worked in other countries, and Cameroon cannot be an exception. The point is, identify some people, the religious leaders, the the chiefs, even though I have my reservation for chiefs, even though I'm one, I have my reservation for some of the chiefs who are bootlickers. Now, I want to say this. You see, when you start talking about the president insisting on his position that they will crush the rebels, I laugh. I laugh. You see, there is a difference between guerrilla warfare and ordinary warfare. If you don't know the face of your enemy, you can never crush it. So this is guerrilla warfare that those guys are carrying out. The president knows that there is insecurity. The president was a candidate for election. The president went only to the extreme north. Why didn't he come to the southwest and the northwest? Because he was informed that the atmosphere was not good enough and conducive, and security reasons made him not come. So let us be candid about this. He can have his soldiers. The soldiers have been there all these decades. They have been unable. How many people are fighting the Amber War? Nobody knows. So the Cameroon soldiers, they have been recruiting every year. All the branches of the military, they are recruiting every year. Why haven't they come down to the crushing of these people who can be just a handful? It is because they don't know them. So okay, now you have their leaders. You're asking who are those to be consulted for the dialogue. There are 10 people who are in prison in Yaoundé. At least those people are there because they were considered as leaders of that movement. There are the clergies. There are other people, other groups that can come in. Call them. Let him first of all start with an ad hoc committee. Call a few people in these groups and say, who do you think? Other people will bring in impetus into the whole thing, bring their own contribution, and we'll go forward. But if it has worked in other countries, and we think that it is the experience of force, not the force of experience, that is bad. The experience of force has not worked anywhere. Otherwise, the Arabs would have crushed the Israelis long ago by number. Southern Sudan would have been crushed by Sudan. Eritrea and Ethiopia, they are legion. The examples are legion. Let this government come down its high horse and accept that there is need for dialogue and genuine dialogue. And let the president know that he must champion that dialogue. He shouldn't stay in his ivory tower and think that his subordinates can do anything. Those are people who tell him the story he wants to hear. He should come down and hear the stories with his own ears and take the action that the stories would have revealed.
All right. Yes, Mr. Samuel, yeah?
I see it as a show of naivety when I listen to other platforms and I hear people ask that, but people are calling for dialogue. Who would they state dialogue with?
That's a rhetoric question, and it's very important.
Yes.
It's very important because
let me tell you that
we see that each time the face of the world changes because of the leaders of the separatists who are not identified.
We have allowed this thing to pull us down the drain to this level, and this state would eventually end up dialoguing with everybody. Federalists, secessionists, decentralists, whatever. We have allowed it deteriorate to this level where everybody is clinging to its own side of the blanket. And this state will eventually dialogue with every one of them. There is nothing that the federalists will say that the separatists would accept. I still refer to the prophetic statement of Barrister Abang,
okay,
where he said, now they're asking for federation and the state does not want to hear about it, and the then Minister of Communication said it was a taboo topic.
Absolutely.
And the head of state has said he does not want to hear. But
it.
that there will be a time in this country where you look for those federalists and you will not find them. And that's where we are. That's where we are. It is even very scary for you to identify yourself in public as a federalist any longer. Because the faceless separatists
after you
see you as a sellout.
As a sellout,
and so it is I think that what is killing us. I amazed when I read through the speech. I had a soft copy of the president's speech at EMIA, at the military headquarters, when he touched on the Anglophone problem in 7 paragraphs. 7 good paragraphs. Even though some of them were very short, but 7 good paragraphs. I said, oh, is reality dawning on this man that this thing needs better solutions than what I have been proposing? 7 paragraphs, and it's unfortunate because it is coming at a time when there are so many other security crises. Recently, we hear talks about Adamawa. Adamawa was never in the scene, but now they are talking about Ngaoundé and Adamawa. And so we allow things accumulate, and it gets to a point where this country may eventually implode. God forbid anyway, but that is my fear for this country. And the solution, again, as I said here some months back, that the government thinks that it has the magic key that it is failing to realize the fact that the padlock to that magic key has been changed, and now it's a new lock, and they need to either adapt their key, and they have to either adapt that key or they look for the befitting key, else we'll keep trying in futility to use a key that does not fit for the lock.
All right.
This issue needs everybody to come down from the high horse, as the senior advocate said. Everybody to come down from their high horses, even if it means that you have to jump and break one leg, but you need to rescue this country and the other leg. Absolutely. Else you may end up not even having a leg to limp on. That is our country, and nobody wants to be a prophet of doom for his own country.
Okay.
We are not.
Yeah, Mr. Sama, you've said enough. We appreciate you for your very beautiful articulations there. Mr. Busi, the President of the Republic, on December 31st, 2018, said the state will continue its dialoguing process with people of goodwill. Where are we in terms of the dialogue? Our dialogue, is the state dialoguing with people in a hiding, or actually it is the Disarmament Commission that is having a dialogue process with the state actors or the non-state actors?
To be candid, up to today, I haven't heard of any dialogue. I don't know who initiated the dialogue. Mr. Moderator, the head of state said that, but on paper, on speech, verbally, but by action, no dialogue has been called to today. I don't know whether it's waiting for the Cardinal Tumis and co dialogue, whom the administration of Buea did not give them authorization. So, Mr. Moderator, I want to say that in conflict resolution, as you are saying, honest dialogue is very important. Because when we are talking on dialogue, we should be sincere and we should be honest. The truth, we should say the truth, nothing but the truth. And in conflict resolution, you cannot disarm people when you have not dialogue, when there's no ceasefire. And I'll be proposing that, first of all, we need demilitarization. Because first of all, just the uniform that the people put and the armor cars that we see, it frightens the common man. It brings fear. So if both actors, not only the state actors, but the non-state actors demilitarize, and first of all, how would they demilitarize? Their leaders are in prison. And I'll be thinking that the government should do what we call general amnesty. If the government can grant general amnesty, it will cool the psychic of the people. It will calm down the psychic of the people, the minds of the people, the state of mind of the people, the mental hurt and the emotional hurt and the psychological hurt of the people will be calmed down first. And I want to say something. In conflict resolution, you first have to identify the source of the conflict. And I think that the government knows the source of this conflict. And we should not be playing games. And our elites should be very honest, because Mr. Biya sent many of them to the northwest and southwest. And I'm sure that they have tabled, they should be honest and tell Mr. Biya what is happening in the field, the source. And I'm not, please, the second thing, they should be assertive. Meaning that the government should call a dialogue where each party can deliberate and tell the government their own point of views. They are free to tell the government their own point of views. And in doing so, we need a mediator. There must be a mediator to also mediate what the people, the two parties, will be deliberating. And after that, they should come into an agreement. And they should respect the agreement and shake hands before we can say dialogue has taken place. But for now, no dialogue has taken place. Dialogue go with cordiality that at the end, people rub shoulders. Nobody have rubbed shoulders. And let me tell you one thing before I go, Mr. Mojeto. And as our learned barrister said there, it's becoming something that we have so many ethnic groups. And if you stop the non-state actors in one village, will you stop the other one in another village? You cannot do that. You must call a general dialogue, because these non-state actors, they are in different villages. You might stop the non-state actors from the belligerents from one village, and the others in another village. They are there doing what they have been doing.
Thank you.
So
Thank you
dialogue is very important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Dialogue is very important. I'll come to you.
There is no tango. I don't know whether you know the dance called tango. No individual can tango. It takes two to tango.
It takes two.
It takes two to tango. So if they want a solution, dialogue is the tango.
All right. Now, let us shift a little from two topics to yet another. The third topic, the Social Democratic Front has indicated that they shall not take part in any forthcoming elections until two demands are being met. First of all, those who masterminded Cameroon's right being withdrawn from the AFCON 2019 hosting should be brought to book and prosecuted. The second being that the solutions that have been proposed by the Social Democratic Front to end the crisis, of course, should be applied. Otherwise, SDF is going to boycott all elections.
Yeah. Mr. Moderator, I would like to start there. Let me give you something you don't maybe not know about me.
Right.
I have been the district chairman of the SDF Buea electoral district twice.
Okay.
Elected, re-elected, then someone else came, and then after that I was re-elected. When the SDF decided to boycott that first election, it was suicidal. There were a few of us who said it was wrong, but the majority. So sometimes the majority can be stupid. Yes. And since SDF boycotted that, they said they were boycotting it until the electoral code is amended. The electoral code was never amended, they came back. And by the time they were coming back, the UNDP had taken what was rightfully theirs. And if the SDF had gone for that election, the SDF would have won much more, maybe even triple what the UNDP won. Absolutely. But when they came, when they decided to come, now the government knew, the CPDM knew that if the SDF had been there before, it would have. They tightened the knot with rigging and all sorts of political maneuver. The SDF is repeating the same mistake now. Let me tell you, the SDF by this last election, granted that it's fear, the Northwest and the Southwest were under siege, granted. But if you look at what the new parties have done, they are going to plant more in these regions and make the SDF inconsequential. Those who listen should listen. The SDF should not repeat its past mistake. Right. It is going to be suicidal, and after the next election, there might be no SDF. Okay. I hope it doesn't happen. I sympathize with the SDF. They have fought enough for this country, but let them not commit political suicide.
Okay, Mr. Ndifor, tell us more about it.
Yes. You see, I am one of those people who do not believe. I believe so much in democracy and do not believe in boycotts. I absolutely do not believe. You see, in the last presidential election, I fought very hard against electoral boycott. I fought on the social media, and everywhere I was, I fought very, very, very hard against the call for boycott. And if you see, those who were calling for boycott, they saw the price we paid. They go around jubilating, but they don't know how much price we have paid for that boycott. I don't even want to call it boycott. It wasn't even boycott, but it was some kind of intimidation not to go and vote, and which cost the SDF a lot. And listen, the SDF is one political party in this country
that holds this Anglophone problem in its heart very dearly. And that is the only political party, I dare say, that championed the cause of Anglophones in this country. And when separatists, go around threatening and asking for no election, and they stay back, what they cost the SDF, which is where they are heading to now, is that the SDF, like the learned barrister said, if that party doesn't go for the present election, for the regional elections and all of that, the SDF will be digging its suicidal grave and dragging the Anglophones right deep down that grave. Whether we like it or not, we are going with the SDF down that grave after these regional and council elections. Because listen to me, during this election, the CPDM is going to sweep all the seats in the northwest and southwest.
And the municipalities.
And the municipalities.
Who will win in Buea? Who will win in Buea?
They're going to take
After the SDF left Buea,
yes,
let us show what
that is the truth.
CPDM has done in this town.
That is it.
The SDF came and planted everything that happened subsequently. If the SDF commits that fault, unfortunately, me, I'm no more in politics. I'd resign from politics, I'd resign from the SDF, and resign from politics in general. But the SDF should know that the CPDM would be very happy. The municipality will be run by the CPDM again, and stores will be locked, taxes will be impounded, and this thing will go on. There will be a recurrent decimal.
All right. I don't think separatist fighters are coercing the SDF to carry out.
No. I did not say they are pressing, but listen to me.
Yes,
that has been one of their strategies. And you know that when they hold on their strategies, it is very difficult for them to let go of that strategy, whether it works or it doesn't work.
It is in the SDF. It is in the SDF. That is not certain people outside the SDF.
Let us stay on the subject matter.
Yeah, and that is the subject matter.
Why is the SDF coming out with this new stand?
It's unfortunate.
Well, the SDF is coming out. Let me explain.
Is it not a good?
Yeah, no. Let me explain to you. Let me explain to you why the SDF is going down this road. And you see,
but Mr. Ndifor, do you support that?
No, I've already said that I am against boycott, and I will never support boycott. But let me explain to you. The SDF is taking this measure as a desperate measure. To be very honest with you, they are taking it as a desperate measure. They saw what happened in the last presidential elections. They know that the separatists will go out again and threaten its militants not to go out and vote. And what they are doing is not to repeat the mistake of carrying the same disgrace that they carried in the presidential election. And so they are avoiding to find themselves in that situation of being faced with that same disgrace. Because what is happening is that the separatists are still going to go on with push through with their threat. They're going to threaten people not to go out. A majority of those people who will not go out will be SDF militants, or maybe let me say opposition. Those are the people who will not go out. But when we talk of opposition, this is the fear of the SDF. But in all of that, a handful of courageous CPDM militants will go and vote.
No, even one.
Even one. In a democracy, even if one vote, they are going to carry the
have zero, they win.
They are going to carry the councils. And we are compelled to face the same kind of leadership we are facing now in the same council. We are compelled to be placed in the same kind of members of parliament who will go and sit in parliament and hand clap through every bill, and that is the same situation. And the problem of the Anglophone problem will not be solved. It will remain the way it is. Those hand clappers will go to parliament and they will push through with their master's agenda of a military solution. And that is it. That is what the separatists are not getting. That is what they are not getting.
Let's just be very clear that the proponents of the
boycott.
No, I'm talking about those who have picked up arms are also CPDM militants. Those who are dying are also CPDM militants. So let's not have it that all the bad things that are happening are for the opposition, and then the CPDM is taking advantage.
Not at all. But what I'm saying is that
in politics you can cross effort.
But the opposition is paying dearly for it.
Yes.
The opposition is paying dearly for it.
Well, the national party or the ruling party is making the best out of the worst situation. So I think that opposition party should also copy that. It's a ruling party. By virtue of democracy. Yeah, Mr. Sama, you want to say something?
It's not a ruling party.
I weep for the SDF. I weep for Anglophones, and I weep for this nation. That the SDF is being compelled because the stance of the SDF or the outing of the SDF is in response to what it has suffered in the hands of these separatists. But one thing I'm very sure of, the SDF, mark my word, mark this day, the SDF will not boycott. Barrister, can I assure you? They threatened in 2013 prior to the senatorial elections. And they said if that they will not, but eventually either through negotiations or second thought, they went. I just watched a video on social media how Honorable Nietzsche in Douala is distributing flyers against his planned march for tomorrow. And so that should already tell you that this is a man who is fighting for his own political survival too in Douala, which has been heavily penetrated by another opposition party with some tribal lines. And so he's fighting so hard for that. Now, my worry and my assurance I am giving you on this platform is that the SDF will not boycott. And I pray. And my prayer is that the separatists or those who are intimidating, because the SDF is suffering from a crisis of intimidation. Those who are intimidating the SDF and its supporters and its militants should desist, because as I heard Richard say, the death of the SDF will mark the near death of Anglophones in this country, whether we like it or not. SDF might pretend that we are a national party, but the SDF has articulated and continues to articulate the Anglophone crisis better than any other organ or institution. I am very sure. I'm very sure. And I pray that the SDF picks up strongly. I expected them to have done something better, but if they opted for this boycott announcement, which I know will not come to fruition, I hope that they have something more. If not, Kamto is in the shadows, waiting very anxiously. And so I pray that things change. I really do pray that things change for the soccer, because the SDF is playing its political survival in this country with these elections.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Sama. And of course, it will be on that note we introduce our text messages, because so many text messages have been coming into the phones. Let us have Shivilet Egbe Eno read for us what you have been writing. Thanks for coming, Shivilet.
Oh, thank you very much for having me, Mr. FONKI.
Yes. Tell us, what are some of the messages that have been coming in?
This one says, good evening, dear moderator and the others. I strongly abide to what the barrister is saying. Just as he stated, no one is compelled to do what the law does not recommend. The Draconian measure cannot solve any problem. This is from Charles. Beside being quixotic and primitive, the governor and mayor's actions are criminal. Tell me one development project that these two have carried out here in Buea with the taxes collected from business people. They must be out of champagne money, hence the clear breach of the peace. Let the regime solve the current problem instead of acting like brigades. This is from an unknown sender. It says, is Mayor Ekema the first or last to rule Buea? This is from Eyong from Limbe. To me, the mayor of Buea is just trying to make the government see that he is fighting the Goldstone issue and thinking that the government will credit him to another level. But he should not forget the recent incident that happened in CDC. The workers were attacked in their houses and not at their job site. So he should first provide security for these taxi drivers in their houses. This is from an unknown sender. Please, I need Mr. Sama's contact for more erudition law on regional council. That's from Mr. Sama, I think. And this is from Robert in Limbe. Good evening to all the panel on board. Barrister Besong should tell me Ekema Patrick the truth. This is from Black Philo from Limbe. Good evening to you all. For me, trying to stop the Goldstone is a dream that might not come true. This is from an unknown sender. Buea is the only town in Cameroon with proper decentralization, as the governor has given power to the mayor. This is from David in Tico. Good evening to you all in the studio. I think the senior barrister has said it all. The mayor has no right to do what he is doing, but it only tells you the way people do think in the country with impunity, because we want to be recognized and appointed, maybe as ministers. Sorry. This is coming from Mr. Fonga Nelson in Tico, and he says, I want to appreciate Mr. Sama for the way he talks. This other one just entering right now. Please do not call. I see a lot of people trying to call me right now. Please, I will not accept your calls. And I just want to say today will be the last day I'll be reading text messages from people who do not sign at the end. Tell us your name and exactly from where you are writing us from. A lot of you are sending in your messages. Now I'm just going to take a few because of time constraint. This one says, good evening to you all. I am Bonja Nelson from Tico. If the president keeps on declaring what he is declaring to solve the problem, then he should be ready to eliminate the Anglophone race, because civilians are going to die in numbers when the time of serious war comes. We have suffered a lot in this crisis. It's high time it is solved, except the president actually wants civilians to lose more lives than what people can actually think. A lot of you are sending in your messages right now and trying to call me. Please, I am going to stop right there because of time constraint. Do well to send in your messages in time. Sign the messages. Tell us your name, where you are sending it from. That will help the panelists. Like I said before, please, this will be the last time I'm going to read messages from an unknown sender. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Shivilet, and very stern instructions there from Shivilet to you. It would be very important that we take it seriously. We are going, Barrister?
Yes, one of the persons who sent a message challenged me to talk to the mayor. Let me use this forum to talk to the mayor. And I would talk to the mayor from the law books. I would ask the mayor to look at section 124, 140, and 236 of the Penal Code. They are very relevant to him. Section 124 punishes any person in whom is vested any part of public authority, and any public servant who with any other person concerts and determines any measures contrary to law or any regulation. So the mayor and his court should know that what they are doing is contrary to section 124. Section 140 says, offenses against private interest, abuse of function. Whoever takes advantage of his position to infringe any private right or interest is punishable with imprisonment and fine. Section 236 talks about depredation by band. If you saw the pictures of today and yesterday, you would see them going out and destroying property. That is called depredation by band. Anyone who, as a member of an assembly or band, and by open force plunders or damages any movable or immovable property, shall be imprisoned from 10 to 20 years. Right. So the mayor should not call his people to commit crimes, because all of them will be criminally responsible. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Barrister. And of course, it is on that note we place a cap on today's edition of the program. Thank you very much, gentlemen. We're out of time. We shall be back on Thursday for yet another edition of the program, Matters. Until we meet again, good night.